welcome back to Pump with Purpose. This is Dr. Diana here. I want to let you know that I am the CEO and founder of Pump with Purpose. I am a doctor of public administration, a certified lactation counselor, and a certified breastfeeding specialist. We have a global lactation and postpartum private practice that specializes in teaching women all around the world to breast pump. We want to be a part of your team, your care team. We want to normalize pumping and let the world know that we pump with purpose. We tell you all the time, if you are putting a pump to those nips, we want to be a part of your journey. So this is another episode in our podcast series. So this episode is going to be called Why Not the Magic Number? So the magic number is a popular flyer posting that everyone talks about throughout the pumping community. It's kind of a way that it's telling you, if you make this amount of milk in a session, this is how many times per day that you can pump to either increase, maintain, or decrease your milk supply. And we're just going to call flag on the plate. We're going to call BS. We're going to call, hogwash. We're going to call it all, right? We don't believe in the magic number. I'm just going to put that out there up front. We don't know who it was created by. It's not a big deal. Whoever it was created by, we just don't support it in our practice. And let's talk about why. So many times we are left to think, well, if my supply is this, then I need to be here. So let me talk about me for an example. So on average, my breast could hold about 16 ounces a day after a 6-hour stretch of sleep overnight. So per 16 ounces in a session at a sitting in a pumping session, 16 ounces in a pumping session after a 6-hour stretch of sleep, that is saying, per the magic number, that I should and could be able to pump 3 to 4 times a day. Well, no, that's not going to work. I know for my journey, I'll talk about me on this podcast episode a little bit more. So we'll talk about my second journey. We'll talk about both. Let's just do that. We'll talk about both journeys. So on my first journey, I pumped for 9 months. Fed my first son for 9 months until I got pregnant with my second son. I made 40 to 45 ounces a day. The first 6 weeks I was on formula trying to get my breast milk supply up. My oldest son took between 30 and 35 ounces a day. So I felt like every time I tried to catch up with him, he kept jumping up. So I just couldn't catch up, and it took 6 weeks. I still had milk. It's probably really took about 5, but I still had milk left over in the fridge, and I just couldn't believe it. So I'm like, I'm just going to leave it in here. And just continue to rotate it and feed it, because I was like, wait a minute, I'm making more than my baby. I'm having milk left over each and every day. I could not believe it. So on that journey, I made 40 to 45 ounces a day. So second journey, fast forward, I pumped for over 3 years, feeding my infant and my toddler. Talk about mom guilt. So since I only, and I'm going to say only, since I made it 9 months on my first journey, but I had mom guilt because I was only, I'm going to say only, because my truth is my truth. If it's only, it's only. Listen, I was able to feed my baby for 9 months. Don't do what I do, but that's what I felt. And I'm tired of hiding my feelings because I'm not supposed to say only. Well, I said only because that's what I felt. I'm validated in this moment. See how I encourage myself, right? So I felt guilty. So didn't provide my baby fresh milk for at least a year. So he did have freezer milk for those last 3 months. So come 6 days in my second journey, I had created a freezer stash. So I would feed my infant as much milk as my infant needed. I would save about a bag or 2 a day. And then my toddler got my oversupply, whatever that was left. I made about 50 to 55 ounces on my second journey. Like I said, I tracked that one a little bit more. I was on the journey a lot longer. And, I knew what I was doing a little bit more. I wasn't lost in the sauce like the first one. And so on that journey, I know that the most I've made was 16 ounces after a 6-hour stretch of sleep. So if I go pumping per the magic number 3 to 4 times a day, I wouldn't have made it where I made it. So I'll go through. You're not going to hear me talk about this often. So my first journey, my biggest regret was that I only made it, and I'm saying only again because that's my truth. I only did 8 weeks of the middle of the night pumping where, 3 hours for 30 minutes for the first 12 weeks. I only made it 8 weeks because, listen, life was life, and it was a lot trying to care for an infant, And it was a lot. So I made it 8 weeks. It was my biggest regret. I still made 45 ounces a day, had an oversupply, and able to still reach my goal even once I stopped pumping with the last 3 months of breast milk for my infant. But it was hard for me. It was hard, and that's the truth. So it was my biggest regret. So on my second journey, I was like, I'm going to change up my schedule. I mean, I kept the same schedule, but I changed up how I operate. I didn't continue. I put my baby on my schedule. No, y'all getting some secret sauce out here in these streets. My children went on my schedule, and I feed and do my pumping and feeding life hacks. Pumping and feeding at the same time, pumping and feeding from the same bottle, pumping and feeding one bottle ahead. So once I did that, I was able to master, a better schedule. And so on my second journey, I was able to go over 3 years feeding my infant and my toddler. But so after 12 weeks, I was at 8 pumps per day until 12 weeks, maybe even 13, but I know I went to 7. Then I went back to work at 4 months. So I know I was down to 6 at least by 4 months. And so then around 6 months, I went 8 until 12 weeks, 7 pumps until from 3 to 4 months, 6 pumps from 4 to 5 months, 5 pumps from 5 to 6 months. Don't do what I did. I'm telling y'all, don't do what I did. This is, making a whole bunch of milk. I didn't know better because I could have had a much longer journey if I didn't do that. But that's neither here nor there at this point. And then around 9 months, I went to 4 pumps per day. I stayed at 4 pumps per day from 9 months all the way to well over 2 years, almost 3 years, when I, started my weaning journey. My weaning journey went well over a year. I was, at 4 pumps. And then I stayed there until around approaching 3 years. And then I really went into my weaning journey. And then I stopped pumping for my children, I'm going to say. Stopped pumping. I still pump for product, but I stopped pumping for my children in October of 2022. I rotated my freezer stash for over 3 years. I was, splitting the bag. So I pumped in 5-ounce increments because both of my children drink 5 ounces, both times. And so I pumped in 5-ounce increments, split it in half, for several months, just giving the 2 ounces, putting into their breast milk for dinner. Not breast milk, their Ripple pre-protein milk for dinner. I called it like their breast milk protein shot, like not protein shot, breast milk, daily multivitamin, booster shot. I don't know. Like I literally put, the 2.5 ounces, not literally a shot, but I took the 2.5 ounces per child. Cause after 18 months, I literally went to, just splitting everything in half. Like my infant was 18, my younger child was 18 months by then. He had to go to daycare. He's been going to daycare. Both of them went to daycare since 4 months, but at daycare at 18 months, they go to open cups. So he couldn't bring breast milk in there anymore because of bodily fluid. So they just had breast milk at home. So I just split it after that. I didn't stress myself about, he's younger, he needs more. That's just what I did. So I did that. And they split the breast milk, and I would just continue to make breast milk and, freeze what I wanted, maybe a bag or 2 a day, freeze it and give the rest to them. So I did that all the way up until it got close to the 3-year mark. So of course, milk supply started decreasing. So I'll give you the truth. On my second journey, because I tracked that a lot more and I was on it for a lot longer, I did 50 to 55 ounces a day as my height. I was dropping pumps, as you see, right? If I wouldn't have dropped all those pumps, my supply would have been more longer. I'm confident in that now. But either way, at age 1, I was at 30 to 35 ounces a day. At age 2, I was at 10 to 15 ounces a day. And at age 3, I was around 5 ounces per day. And it was still enough, because it was still enough to give them their, their 2.5 ounces each. And I just kept rotating my freezer stash. And then my freezer stash ran out at over 3 years as well, in October of 2021. 2022. Sorry, getting my years confused. And I posted my weaning video onto social media. It was very, very sad. It took me 6 months to post it because I was so sad about it. But needless to say, what I'm saying is I didn't even follow anywhere close to the magic number. And I lasted for 3 years. I'm confident if I would have know what I knew now, it would have lasted a lot longer. But the key is, if I made that much milk, of 16 ounces in a sitting after a 6-hour stretch. Usually after a 3-hour stretch, if it, I was around 2, 4, 6 to 8 ounces, even after a 3-hour stretch, depending on the time of day. I mean, that still says, around 3 to 4 times of pumping per day. I would not have been able to pump for over 3 years if I listened to that advice. So when I say to be careful about where you get your information, I mean it. You need a care plan. You need a pumping care plan. And it's very important to figure out what you should and what your goals are, how often you should be doing it, with what products you should be doing it with. Lactation is so person specific, and what works for one person will not work for another. You may take bits and pieces of it, but why cater your journey around someone else? The magic number does not account for if someone is pumping with the right pump flange products and schedule. So if you don't have the right tools, it doesn't account for that. It doesn't account for, you could be much higher to maximize your milk supply if you made sure that you were in the right tools first. So it doesn't account for that. So it's a no for me. I don't care what says what and who says who. Y'all notice what I say. If you follow me on any social media platform, especially Instagram, that's where I spend most of my time. But it really can impact your pumping output if you're using the wrong tools. So if you want to discuss, your pumping, what you should be doing, the right pump flange products and schedule, how to increase your milk supply, how to maintain your milk supply, if you're having issues with pumping pain, if you're having issues with nipple soreness, trauma, damage, if you are having issues in your pumping journey, we want to be a part of your plan care team. We want to help you develop premier pumping plans that can make sure you're in the right pump flange products and schedule. We want to make sure you can also do a real-time pumping session with us if you would like, where you pull back up and we teach you how to pump. You literally put the pump on and we do a complete pumping session with you start to finish to make sure that you are optimizing your pump settings. You are not in any pain. You have the right ways and forms and techniques and pump settings and pumping techniques to be able to be successful. So want to let you know why not the magic number, because it's not built for long-term pumping. We really want you to know that if you have long-term goals to pump well over a year, you do not need to use a magic number. Period, point blank. That ain't even no general advice. I gave you that for the free. We would not recommend you doing the magic number if you have any goals for long-term pumping. Sometimes people, when they do put out things, is for a year, but most people we work with, they're pumping for longer than a year. The year is just a start. People are like, can I increase my milk supply after a year? Yeah, we do it all the time. Your requirements for what baby needs drops down because on average, pediatricians on average say between 16 and 24 ounces per day. And so it drops down. But yeah, you can pump longer than a year. You can still increase your milk supply. We have so much success after age 1. It just looks differently. So we don't want you to limit your journey, limit your plans, all because people are not telling you the truth. They're not telling you the real deal, Holyfield. Don't use the magic number. You have a long-term, viable, sustainable solution of pumping. If you want that, you don't do that. It just doesn't work if you want to have the journey that you deserve. You don't know what type of journey you want until you have it. So why follow something that's going to prepare you to potentially make less milk? So we hope this podcast episode helps. This is why not the magic number. And this is Dr. Diana here. Until next time with Pump with Purpose.